Hello, today we will be learning about HTML elements. Before we begin, please make sure you've completed your Do Now and you're submitting it to Google Classroom. Today, our objective is to use HTML syntax and structure to create a web page. Our vocabulary, body tag, HTML tag, H1 tag, syntax, HTML elements, ordered list tag, unordered list tag, and list item tag. So in English, the order of our words and the punctuation we use makes a difference. If you look at this picture here, let's eat grandma and let's eat, comma, grandma say two very different things. I mean, the first one is suggesting that we'll eat grandma like she's dinner, and the second one is suggesting to grandma that let's eat together. So obviously two very different things. Punctuation saves lives. It's really important. And this is true in coding too. Syntax is the set of rules that make it easier for us to understand each other when we speak or write. And these rules usually include word order and punctuation. HTML elements are used to tell web browsers about your web page and what to display. HTML elements usually consist of an opening tag, a closing tag with content inserted in between. So you could think of syntax for HTML elements kind of like making a sandwich. You know, it's just like in making a sandwich, order is really important. I mean, you don't want lettuce outside the bread. You want mayo on the inside of your bread, not the outside. Otherwise, that would just be so gross. So those kind of things, order is important. Writing clean code is also really important. So if you're thinking about, an outline or notes, you probably have a system for writing good notes. You probably want it to be very neat and structured with some sort of outline to it. Just like that in code, when we write code, we want it to follow the same kind of rules and make sure that usually each element starts on its own line. And there are a few exceptions, and we'll talk more about this during guided practice, but just making it really neat and readable makes it easier for others to understand our code and also for you to understand your code as well. So to start a new line of code, you can hit enter or return, and here you see how each element is on its own line. When we talk about HTML, all HTML must be inside an HTML tag. So just like when we were talking about sandwiches earlier, you can think of the opening HTML tag as the top bread and the closing HTML as the bottom bread. So in a sandwich, everything that you want in a sandwich, your meat, your cheese, your lettuce, your tomatoes, they're in between the two breads. And HTML is the same way. Everything should be in between the opening and closing HTML tags. All content that you want to see on your web page, however, is inside the body tag. So here in the body section, there is an opening p tag, content, and closing p tag. This is what will show up on your web page. There's also a head section that's used for content that we don't see on the page. So just like your head contains thoughts, but your body shows like your clothes and everything, it's kind of the same way. The head section contains more of the invisible content, but it could include titles, it could include libraries, etc. And you'll learn more about this as we go on and learn some more things. But the head section is above the body section. One thing that belongs in the head section is the title. So this tag defines the name of your page. In this case, in line 4, our title is lesson 2.2, and it's in between the opening title tag and the closing title tag. Our title show up in the tab when you open your website, and you can see that right here on the top right where it says lesson 2.2, which is the content in between the title tags. The title is also what you use when you find your assignments in your projects tab in Popcode. So when you scroll down and you can see all the projects you've created, you should be able to identify them by the title you gave them. In this case, you gave this title lesson 2.2. Let's go into some lightning questions. So the first lightning question is, what is wrong with this HTML? I'll give you a few seconds to think about it. All right, so you may have said a few things. So you may have said that in line 3, after hello, there should be a closing H1 tag because there's an opening H1 tag but not a closing, and that would be correct. So we could actually take this closing H1 tag that seems misplaced on line 4 and move it up. And then after that, the next line should be correct because now there's an opening P tag and a closing P tag. Let's move on to another question. So what is wrong with this HTML? So initially, something like this could feel really overwhelming. And for someone like me, it does seem kind of confusing because everything is kind of clumped together. So what I would do is I would start trying to make this code cleaner. How I would do that is just like earlier, I would put each element on its own line, so it's easy for me to read and also for me to spot the errors. So if I do that in my mind, I put each element on its own line, I see a few errors pointing or coming out. So one error I see is that the closing HTML tag is after the closing H1 tag and before our paragraph and closing body tag. So I want to take that closing HTML tag and move at the very bottom because earlier we said everything should be in between the top red and the bottom red, or the opening HTML tag and the closing HTML tag. So as a class, let's try to find the errors in this code. A quick hint is to check your error message for any hints. So you should be able to see my guided practice right here. It's open, and I want to go ahead and I'm going to just collapse my CSS and JavaScript windows and look at this code. So normally, what I would do is I would read the error messages first. So we could definitely do that. I also want to go through line by line just to see what might be wrong, and then I'll kind of check with my error messages and see what they say too. So I'm going to start with line 2, and I see I have my opening HTML tag, my head section, it looks great, and then I have my body section starting in line 6, and then line 7, I see I have an opening H1 tag, heading, and then I have so this doesn't look right because I know that my opening H1 tag needs to be mirrored by closing H1 tag. So this is not correct, and then I know I need to make this a closing H1 tag, so I will do that by adding a slash. Yep, so the error message I saw here, it's now gone because I've successfully solved the error. Now, I want to go to the next line, and I see this is great. This is not great because there are no tags, so I want to make sure that I'm using tags. So let's make this a paragraph. To do that, I want to do an opening P tag with an opening angle bracket, name of the tag, closing angle bracket, and at the very end, I want to close it with a closing P tag. All right, so now this line looks correct, and then line 9 looks correct, line 10 looks correct. However, I see in line 11 there is an element here that should not be here. I know that all content needs to be in between the body tags. So let's say after line 8, I want to start a new line, paste it there. Let me make sure that lines up, and then now I see something's still not right. I'm going to turn to my error message because I'm stuck, and let's see what it says. It says on line 10, my opening p tag needs to be closed by closing p tag. Oh, that seems very simple. I'm going to add a closing p tag. All right, this looks great. I have no more errors. Awesome. So I'm going to move back to my slides so we can go through a few more things. And those new things are new HTML elements. So here are some new elements we're learning today. So the H1 tag makes larger text, like a heading. It's usually used for headings. There are 6 possible H tags that create different sized headings. So I see H1 creates the biggest text and the H3 creates smaller text. Cool. What else are we learning? We're also learning that we can add organization to our page by creating lists. So just like I love my to-do list, my shopping list, everything lists, I can also add lists on my webpage. Awesome. So there are 2 different types of lists, ordered and unordered. What do you think the difference is? You may have said ordered lists, or the one on the left, has numbers and the one on the right has bullet points. Totally correct. Other things you may have noticed is that order kind of matters in the ordered list, and it doesn't matter so much in the unordered list. What I mean by that is it looks like the left is a recipe and the steps matter. Like you don't want to add frosting before you combine the ingredients or before you bake. So these things are really important to keep in order. While it looks like on the right, it doesn't really matter what order the ingredients are. Let's talk about ordered lists first. Ordered lists are numbered. The tags look like this. You have an opening ordered list tag and you have a closing ordered list tag. And each item in the list is called a list item. They are nested inside the list and look like this. Opening list item tag, closing list item tag. So let's look at what this looks like. It looks like we start off our list with an opening order list tag. We'll press enter and then maybe a tab, and we have our first list item, opening list item tag, closing list item tag, content in between. It looks like there are 3 list items here, and then we close it with an ordered list tag. And what it translates to is we have 1, 2, 3, and each of the content is following that number. Very cool. On the other side, unordered lists are not numbered, but use bullet points. The tags look like this: opening unordered list tag, closing unordered list tag. They also contain list items. They are nested inside the list like this: opening list item tag, closing list item tag. Cool, so it looks like it's kind of the same as ordered lists, except this time we're just using unordered list tags. Let's see what it looks like. We have that opening and closing unordered list tags and all the list items in between, and it translates to another list, but this time bullet points. Very cool. And by nesting, when we say nesting, what we mean is something is inside another thing. So here the list items are inside this larger unordered list element. Lightning question. How will this HTML code render on a page? Take a second to think. If you said kittens and puppies would show up on a list with numbers, you are correct. And we know that there will be numbers instead of bullets because the OL tells us that it is an ordered list, which means each list item has a number. Let's move on to our second guided practice. Let's make a list of students with upcoming birthdays on Popcode. I'm going to open up my guided practice. I'm going to share my screen. And all right, let's make a list of students in our class with a birthday coming up. I don't actually know any people's birthdays. I also don't know who's watching this video, so I'm just gonna make up some random students' names. So let's see. Do I want an ordered list or do I want an unordered list? I think I'm gonna do unordered list so people don't feel like the numbers mean that I like them the best, even though these are all hypothetical students, but whatever. Okay, so I have my opening unordered list tag and my closing unordered list tag. All right, so I'm gonna put like 3 names in here. So I'm gonna make sure I'm nesting my list item tags. Let's start with oh man, so hard to find names. Maybe Richard. And then so I want an opening list item tag, Richard, closing list item tag. All right, there's my first nested list item. And then let's do, let's do Barack. Awesome. And then same way, opening list item tag, closing list item tag. And then let's do Michelle. Or again, opening list item tag, Michelle, closing list item tag. Let's see our masterpiece. Yes, I see Richard, Barack, Michelle, and a list with bullet points. All right, now I want to rank some things. So I think I want to do an order list this time. This time, instead of students, because I'm honestly tired of making up fake students' names, let's just do favorite foods. So this one's really easy for me because I know what my favorite foods are. So I'm going to do order list and I'm going to rank them by order of importance. So in this case, I know my favorite food is pizza. So I want to make that a list item. So opening list item tag, pizza, closing list item tag. And my second favorite food is French fries. So I want to do French fries, closing list item tag. Beautiful. So those are the only foods I really like. So I'm going to keep that list small to 2. That said, I'm going to go back to my slides because I believe we have a few more things to learn. Just kidding. We're actually going to move on to our independent practice. Really exciting. It's now your turn. So you want to try this exercise and you'll want to use all the new tags you learned today. This includes your H1 tag, your ordered list tag, your unordered list tag, and list item tag. You may also discover a few more tags like the marquee tag and Q tag. See if you can figure out what they do. And I'm going to open up this exercise and share my screen for this exercise. Yep, so you're creating your very first website. Super exciting. And again, like the other assignments, there is a mild, a medium, and spicy. So you definitely have to get through all the parts of the mild. So let's go through what that means. You want to create a header that says my first website right here. And then you want to create a paragraph that says, this is so fun. You want to make an order list to rank your 3 favorite foods. You want to make an unordered list of the classes in your schedule. And then if you move on to the medium, you can use the tag strong to make your top favorite food bold, exciting. You can also use the tag EM or M to make the name of your favorite class italicized. And finally, you finished the mild, you finished the medium. Awesome. There are a few more tags and spicy that you could do, like code, small, del, marquee, and Q, and see what they do. They're really cool. All right, so once you finished your independent practice, please make sure that you are submitting it. So again, you want to submit it, same process, creating a snapshot and getting the link and adding it to Google Classroom. And then you did it, yes, and you made your first website. Great job. And you also learn to use correct syntax to create simple HTML elements. So quick closing question for you to think about. What's wrong with this line of code? You probably said that the opening tag and closing tag were switched. That is absolutely correct. You want to move the opening tag, which is currently at the end, to the front, and move the closing P tag, which is currently in the front, to the back. So just switch the places. After this, after you finish your independent practice, please make sure you are answering the exit ticket questions. Here's question 1. Here's question 2. Here are all the questions, and this can be found in Google Classroom. After that, you are done for this day, and please come check out lesson 2.3 tomorrow.